Hello, everyone, and welcome into another edition of the Computer America Show. Hopefully, everyone out there had a great weekend, a nice, relaxing, restful weekend. And yeah, we're just going to jump right into today's show. Really looking forward to today's interview because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be very, very interesting as we have a company called Clarius here with us. And yeah, it's all about ultrasound and, point and shoot ultrasound. It's a device that I honestly have never seen anything similar to it, by any stretch. So this is something different. Looking forward to it, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So, with that being said, everyone, just sit back and relax as we have an entire hour of the Computer America Show coming right at you here in just a matter of
Your show will
seconds.
go live
There we
in
go.
5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live, it's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers, Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Grossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at computeramerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@computeramerica.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into another edition of the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Really happy that all of you are joining us here today as we have a great show for you. And in the second part of the show, we're going to do computer and technology news with whatever time we have left, because there's a lot of different articles going around that we should really talk about. There's some new information about the whole Tesla solar roof, solar panel kind of thing, as well as a few others, including China. They're not really known as a bastion of free speech, but anyone who has been on the internet knows that the value of having somewhat of an anonymous presence. And China just said, "Yep, that's not happening anymore." And yeah, we're going to talk about that and much, much more, including, I'm actually finding a lot of articles about, kind of biotechnology, as in, an artificial pancreas that's ready to hit the market, as well as titanium hip implants. I mean, we're just going to talk about anything that really strikes my fancy. It's going to be a lot of fun. But that's going to be in the latter half of the show. As in the first half, we have a company on, again, called Clarius, and they're going to be with us to talk all about handheld wireless ultrasound. And it's something that I had honestly never heard of before, and it works with a smartphone, of all things. It seems like your smartphone is becoming more and more of a medical device if you so choose. So very, very interesting. But before we get to that, I just want to tell everyone that, here at Computer America, we do a lot of things, and everything that we do here at Computer America can be found over at computeramerica.com. There, let's take today, for instance, you will be able to find a link to our guest website with the product and all the information and more information right there in the show notes. So if you're driving, or if you're busy, if you're walking, doesn't matter. It's going to be available at computeramerica.com. Just find today's show, and you can find the archive of today's show, as well as all the information. And of course, whenever we do articles and things like that, we will include the links in the show notes. Now, with that being said, also want to point out that at computeramerica.com, we have all the links to social media. Go there, sign up, like us, subscribe, what have you. And by supporting us there, you are entered to win a prize from our friends over at Logitech, who sponsor a contest. So that every single Friday, we give away a great prize. We are giving away the Keys to Go from Logitech to one of our social media followers. Just that easy, and we do that just for saying thanks for supporting Computer America. Now, I don't want to, kind of banter too long, because I really want to get into this. He is waiting here on the phone, and it's going to be a great interview. So I want to introduce Mr. Dave Willis. He is the co-founder and chief strategy officer for Clarius Mobile Health. And yeah, so Dave, welcome onto the program.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure indeed. And and like I said, this is something that I'd never heard about, because I always assumed that, and we're going to get into some of the specifics on how it works and just kind of how the idea came along. But I just want to point out that I think when most people think about medical supplies and ultrasound in general, they think of like the big thing on the rack on the cart that that the doctor wheels in, and then he has the little handheld corded paddle, and it's a pretty big piece of equipment, I think, that people are used to. So I guess my first question, just to get into this, is how did Clarius, the company, kind of come out before even your product? How did Clarius come about?
Well, a couple of years ago, about 2.5 years ago, myself and the founder of the company got together. Both of us have been in ultrasound for quite a few years. He originally built a company called Ultrasonics that sold off. I was one of the original employees at Simplified Ultrasound, which creates smaller point-of-care ultrasound machines. We worked together briefly, but have always stayed in touch, and said one day it'd be nice to get together and do our own thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we did that 2.5 years ago, and just looked out in the marketplace and said, what's needed, what problems still exist with all the ultrasound equipment that's available today. So the problem that we came up with that we believed was real was a lot of really big departments that use ultrasound for procedural use are limited to having 1 or 2 machines in that department, mostly because of cost. So we said, how do we build something to give them really good image quality, but contain the cost so that it's affordable to basically every physician or clinician globally that needs to use ultrasound? And that was really the foundation of the start of the company.
So the start of the company was to really build something like, like your first product, which is, the portable handheld, ultrasound device. And so obviously cost, like you mentioned, I mean, is it Clarius's hope that you kind of end up in, every, like next to every bed instead of kind of, 1 or 2, like you said, 1 or 2 units in each ward? Did you really get the cost down to the point where this is effective to have, a dozen of these instead of just 1 or 2?
Yeah, absolutely. It's that's we believe that to do that, we had to leverage off-the-shelf tablets and smartphones because that's about half of the cost. So and the other thing we looked at is to be open architecture. We wanted to be able to work with any operating system, both especially Android and iOS.
Right.
So wireless was really the only way to do that. We didn't want to tether ourselves to something. So we said, let's do this. Let's create something that is wireless, works on any operating system.
Yeah, and
get it out there.
I mean, my first question is that Craig, he's actually the host of the show. He actually had a medical emergency, and he had to go into the hospital for a while. And it was a pretty nice hospital. I didn't see too many tablets. Like a few people had tablets. My question for you is, obviously this is going to be kind of relating to the people that you are trying to sell to, but has the medical field really embraced tablets and smartphones as a medical device? I mean, I know that we talk about on the show here a lot fitness device, fitness trackers, and there are other medical devices that can connect to your smartphone. But, or maybe even a better question, do you feel that the integration of smartphones and tablets in the medical field is only going to continue? Because if it doesn't, then that's half of your unit that really people can't use if they can't bring their iPhones into patients' rooms.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's something that we've looked at for a long time, and one of the trends that we've noticed is looking at medical students, especially in the U.S. Something like 90% of medical students have a tablet. So very common, and that's a trend that we're seeing carrying forward into the hospitals. So as these students graduate, they get placed in their first real job in medicine. They are really used to using a tablet for charting, for doing all kinds of work. So we think it's just a natural progression. Right.
And I completely agree. I mean, tablets and smartphones, they really are, they have so much potential, and especially compared to charts and paper and all that good stuff. I mean, I think we're only starting to see it. But let's talk about Clarius, where how do you think this is really going to impact healthcare? Because I mean, obviously the benefits being that, well, if you have, a dozen of these, 2 dozen of these instead of just two, maybe more timely, maybe, more cost effective. But what do you think are some of the longer kind of benefits that Clarius is going to bring to the market?
A couple things. One, just to give you an example of a specific marketplace, about 12, 13 years ago, anesthesia started using ultrasound to do nerve blocks. So if someone's getting surgery on the hand, for instance, instead of putting the patient under general anesthetic that has all kinds of potential complications associated with it, they perform a nerve block so the patient actually stays awake, but they can do a procedure on the hand and the patient feels nothing. So it's a very safe way to do a lot of these procedures. Nerve blocks 15 years ago were done blind, or they used a nerve stimulator, which basically involves sticking a needle in and hitting it with an electric current. And if the limb jumps, they're close to the nerve. So it wasn't great science, quite painful, and not always exact. If they didn't get a complete block, the patient could actually start experiencing pain during the procedure. So what they found with ultrasound, they can actually see the nerve bundle. They follow the needle to the nerve. They inject. When they see the anesthetic completely surround the nerve, they're guaranteed that it's a complete nerve block. So that really changed anesthesia to the point where it's used basically in every large anesthesia department in the country. In fact, in many places in the world, ultrasound is used to do peripheral nerve blocks. The problem that I saw, I would go into a large department that had 35 anesthetists. They had 2 ultrasound machines. And if they were both being used during procedures and someone had to do a block, they have 2 choices. They can either do it blind, which is really bad medicine today, or they can wait, which the surgeons don't like doing because that's a very expensive surgical suite that's tied up waiting.
Right.
So there is, I think, for patient safety, for effectiveness, cost reduction, a whole host of reasons, ultrasound is beneficial if there's enough for every physician to use.
No, absolutely. And of course, something that is, that small and handheld that you can kind of just, have it lying around and not have to really, just kind of put one in each room and forget about it. But, and, I'm sure that we're going to talk about this, well, we've been talking a lot about the medical field and that kind of thing. And obviously it's going to have great implications there. But let's say consumers, and I'm not saying that everyone is going to want an ultrasound, every day of their lives. And, it's going to be here and there. But is there any chance that that this product could be available for at-home users or just people who, kind of curious about ultrasound?
Not really. It's still a medical device, and that's actually how we treat it. So
Right.
we will sell to medical professionals, but there is a step in between.
Mhm.
One of the interesting areas out there that we've actually proven years ago when I was with Sonosite, Global Public Health, developing nations. There's a lot of places that don't have access to any imaging modalities, X-ray, CT, MR. It's just far too expensive. Ultrasound in these situations adds great value. We've seen it actually change infant mortality rates in some areas. But again, access to this stuff is difficult. So the beauty of what we're doing, it's not only affordable, but it's very good image quality. So it meets that need quite well. The other thing that we found is a lot of these places have poor hardline infrastructure, but great cell technology and cell infrastructure.
Mhm.
So it's quite a good fit for developing nations and going into areas that are difficult to get into.
Oh, I bet. I mean, like you said, and of course, whenever I think developing, I don't know if it's just prejudice on my part, but I always think Africa. There's no better place in Africa, but I know that there's a large majority of people that get internet access and data and that kind of thing only through cell towers, and I'm sure that includes doctors' hospitals and places like that over there. So no, I can completely see that benefit. And all right, so getting back to the device, it's whenever I hear about a new technology such as yours that completely, either replaces, removes, or is just better in some way than what people have been using for a long, long time, the best question to ask is always, what is new about your technology? Because if there's really nothing new and it's just you've kind of simplified it, shrunk it down a little bit, made it a little bit cheaper, then it's not really as revolutionary as I'm sure marketing people would have you believe. I will say out front that, of course. Oh, and by the way, everyone, please go check out clarius.me is the website, not .com, .me, and go check this thing out because it looks very, very convenient, but it looks much different than what I'm used to seeing in terms of ultrasound devices. So the question is, why is Clarius so different than other ultrasound devices? Like, have you guys just kind of adapted to new technology faster, or are you really doing something different than other providers of ultrasound equipment?
Yeah, I guess there's two pieces to that. The first, we really wanted to create something small but maintain a really high image quality. And there's been small devices and inexpensive devices on the market, but the imaging was poor, and most clinicians would equate small to poor image.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to get over that hurdle and set a very, good image quality bar. And then the other piece, I think, no one had jumped into the wireless arena with great image quality, and we look at that as a real advantage because as soon as you run a cable to a device, you become a slave of the device. And we look at how fast these commercial devices change. They're really rapid. If a physician has the same tablet for 2 years, that's a long time.
Right.
Medical equipment they can use for several years. So we wanted to be able to follow those devices and leverage a lot of the things that they do really well, leverage how quickly they change the technology and implement new things, but not be a slave of that technology. So we thought, if we're wireless, we can absolutely do that. If a physician changes their phone or their tablet every year, they just download the app and they're off and running.
Absolutely.
So we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, and of course, the thing that comes to my mind is, of course, sharing of data. I mean, again, I was recently in the hospital for, again, a family member, and I kind of been in the hospital before for other family members, like a decade ago, and they hand you so much paperwork, so much printed stuff, X-rays and what have you. And this time when we left, I mean, they had a few pieces of paper, kind of forms and things you should read, but they handed over all of his medical, X-rays and stuff like that on a CD. And it's like, here you go. That's everything you need. And it's like, and if you ever need anything, just give us a call. We have it on record, and we'll send it to you, email or what have you. I mean,
Yeah.
digital is so much better for medical records and medical things. Does your device, and of course, I'm assuming that there is an app associated with it. Does that save everything natively, like a recording, or is it just kind of live time video and no recording associated?
Well, there's two pieces, so it will save both still images and video clips, and there's two ways to do that. Inside a hospital, DICOM is kind of the standard.
Mm-hmm.
So most hospitals have their own DICOM storage systems, but in clinics, that's not always the case. There's still a lot of paper filing and paper images that are stored. The problem with most DICOM systems is they're quite expensive, and in clinics, especially if they're private clinics, not always affordable. So part of what we offer when someone syncs, they get a new scanner from us, they sync it to their tablet, they set up an account to communicate between the scanner and the tablet. That also creates cloud storage for them. So they can image and hit save. Those images are stored in the cloud. They can access them anytime from anywhere. And we've taken all the precautions to make sure it's all HIPAA compliant, encrypted.
Right. Yeah. And I was just about to get into that because obviously security, it's very, very important. And when you're talking about things like medical records, I mean, there are few things as important as medical records. So you mentioned that you were HIPAA compliant. I mean, I guess the chance of someone hacking into the server where this is held, I mean, it's going to be as hard as any other medical record, I assume, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And we're not storing social security numbers or credit card information. So there's not only is it as hard as any other medical record, there's not a lot of initiative or incentive for someone to try and hack in.
Perfect. And of course, I assume that nothing is really held on your servers, so it's not like redundant, and you have access to everything that is being used on on your devices. I assume so. That's
right.
good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So, and of course, they're saying that you mentioned Android, iOS, obviously BlackBerry can go bugger off, and Windows Phone can go bugger off too. But Android and iOS, is it only a certain point? I mean, is it all current iOS devices? How far back does the compatibility go?
We tested back to the iPhone 4, so we went quite a ways back.
And then Android
it's
about Android 4.
Yeah, I'm not as sure.
Right.
I'm not a software guy. I'm a clinical guy, but same thing. They tested fairly far back.
Okay. Okay, so that's definitely good. So if you have maybe a little bit older tablet and you're thinking about this, then it should work. It sounds like anything built within the last 3 or 4 years should be compatible. And of course, on an ongoing basis, do you again, I know you just said you weren't a software guy, so immediately I have to ask you a software question. Do you have like a companion app, and do you put that out yourself? Or again, you mentioned that one standard for hospitals. I'm just drawing a blank right now. Or does kind of the hospital system have to update the app?
No, we put the app out.
Okay.
So the onus is on us, and most medical device companies, the onus is on the company to make sure that they're HIPAA compliant.
Right, and I know we mentioned this a little bit earlier. You had a great story about anesthesiologists, and that's great. But what other markets? Because again, when I think ultrasound, like there's only one thing that comes to mind, and babies. I mean that's really it. What markets is yeah? So what markets will Clarius address? Is it just a medical field for for ultrasound for babies, or I mean? Yeah, what markets will Clarius address?
Yeah, we're not really after the conventional ultrasound market where you have a sonographer sitting in a room doing 45-minute examinations one after the other all day long. They can still buy a big machine to do that. What we're after is really procedural ultrasound. So anytime they use ultrasound to guide a needle placement, quick look for blood in an abdomen, just a quick check for anything. So one example was anesthesia, another one's emergency medicine, where what they used to do before ultrasound, if someone came in with blunt abdominal trauma and they were in shock, they suspect there's a bleed, so they look for blood in the abdomen. They used to do that with a technique called a lavage, where they would actually stick a huge, almost like needle into the abdomen, try to suck back and see if they get blood. Not a very pleasant procedure.
No.
So, and it's not that accurate because you're doing it blind. So with ultrasound, it's extremely accurate. You can see blood. The whole procedure takes less than 2 minutes. And they make a decision whether it's to send that patient to surgery or not based on the ultrasound. So emergency medicine, we think it's a viable tool. I hadn't considered obstetrics until I ran into a friend of mine that's an obstetrician with 15 other physicians. And she said, on any given day, we have our own big ultrasound machine. We have a sonographer, but it's booked all day long. And 4 or 5 times a day, I just need a quick answer. Is the head up or down? Where's the tip of the placenta? Is there amniotic fluid? Just a very quick thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the ability for someone like that to pull this out of her lab coat pocket and answer that question in 10 seconds is tremendous.
Could you see this in let's say EMTs and ambulances and kind of on the go kind of thing? I mean, I know we haven't really gotten into battery life and the hardware requirements behind this, but could this be used in again ambulances?
Yeah, absolutely. There's there's been some movement in that space for the last number of years, trying to figure out where it fits, what the best use model is. But again, line placements, trying to get a IV going in patients who have vein problems
Right.
is an issue. So being able to see a nice open vein, or if it's full of clot, to find one that is open is really helpful. So we do think that that's a real potential market for something like this.
Very, very cool. And yeah, since I brought up the hardware requirements, is this thing like 10 seconds of ultrasound and 3 hours of charging? Like what is kind of the battery life expected for this device?
So solid runtime is just under an hour, but no, there's no such thing in these areas that we're going to where it runs for an hour. So
Right.
usually they'll scan for 3 minutes, hit the freeze button, or put it down, and it might be 30 minutes before the next patient comes in where they need it. It does have a motion sensor, so if it's sitting there for, I think it's a minute and a half, it goes into a low power state. So you can stretch that battery for a long time. It comes with 2 batteries. The battery charges in about an hour and 20 minutes. So you'll easily stretch an hour and a half or so of routine scan time, and the other one will be fully charged. So it takes about 2 seconds to swap the battery.
Right. Oh, very, very nice. And swappable batteries, that's definitely important. For something as important, just to have one on the go. It's heck, I do it for my screwdriver, so I can imagine ultrasound device would be just as important. And again, just looking at the design of it, I don't know who you had designed this thing, but very well done. I kind of want to say like radar gun-ish, but without the gun part, and it's a handle, and then of course the ultrasound device. Very, very well designed, and it looks very, very rugged. Like hey, things happen if you drop it; it's not going to shatter. So I can tell a lot of a lot of effort went into that.
Yeah, it's hard to tell because of the paint coloring, but it is a full magnesium shell, so it is a metal casing, just for that reason, to make it very rugged. There's also no fan, so the casing itself acts as a heat sink, and that allows us to actually submerge the thing. So for cleaning, you can actually pop the battery out, and both are submersible. So it makes it really easy to clean.
But not dishwasher safe.
They're not. Well, actually, we haven't tried it, but it would probably survive a dishwasher.
Okay, well,
I don't think we've tested to that.
Okay, not tested. Okay, so to be confirmed, but no, very rugged. And I'm assuming the training on this thing, because again, when you look at it, there's no built-in display, there's no this, there's no that. Very, very simple. Let's say someone picks it up for the first time and they have the app on their phone. Training time, you would say, since from minute 1 to minute I've got it, is how long?
Well, so there's 2 pieces to training. If they've done some ultrasound, the training on the app and using the product is minutes. It's quite straightforward. And then, of course, ultrasound takes training.
Right.
You need to know your basic anatomy and some ultrasound. We do provide some basic training videos that are on our website and on YouTube. But it makes training a little more accessible. I've seen physicians now excited because they can use this in the hospital. If it's the emergency department, they can take it home with them, and train in the evening, scanning themselves and say, "Oh, that's my gallbladder."
Okay, yeah, no. It makes a lot of sense. And you figure the old machines, it's like, hey guys, I'm taking this home for the afternoon. I'm gonna figure it out, and they're like, no. But very, very cool. And again, definitely go check out the website, because they have videos on this thing, and they show the device itself. And yeah, this seems like a great product. Is this your first product? For Clarius, how big is Clarius as a company?
We are just under 50 people now. So
That's
we
not bad.
started with just two of us sitting in a bar with cocktail napkins, writing ideas down about 2.5 years ago. And now we're just under 50.
Very, very cool. Yeah, you guys are almost up to medium. Or no, you guys are definitely medium business at least. So very, very nice. It's good to see you guys are expanding. Manufacturing is done in house, or what are those 50 people for? Or what are those 50 people for?
A bulk of them are engineering with some finance, some marketing, regulatory, and manufacturing. So we do all of our own manufacturing
nice.
in-house. And a big part, that's for two reasons really. As a smaller company, if you rely on outsourcing too many parts and one of those companies gets purchased by someone else, it can create a real supply chain issue.
Right.
So we decided to manufacture everything ourselves and never have to worry about that problem. And then quality control. We expect this device to be used in a lot of interesting locations where it may be hard to get them serviced. So we wanted to make sure that we're shipping something that's really rugged and reliable.
Right.
So we can maintain quality control.
Makes a lot of sense. And Dave, I'm actually going to ask you to stay over. If you don't mind staying like another 5 minutes, we can wrap this up. The music means we have to take a break. So if you could just stay on the line, and we'll be done in just a minute. But everyone else, stay tuned for more Computer America as we continue on here with Dave Willis from Clarius and more Computer America. Stay tuned.
Looking for a best friend? Brother Wolf Animal Rescue has your best friend waiting just for you. The mission of Brother Wolf Animal Rescue is to help build a sustainable, no-kill community where no dogs or cats are ever killed for population control, where true euthanasia is reserved only for animals who are irremediably suffering or for animals who are truly a threat to society and with no hope of rehabilitation. Brother Wolf's staff and volunteers go door to door, neighborhood by neighborhood, to educate citizens about local resources available for at-risk pets and to help their families connect with those resources. Brother Wolf's community-based approach to no-kill helps keep family pets healthy, happy, and in their homes and out of the local shelter system in the first place. For more information or to make a tax-deductible donation to this wonderful 501c3 organization, visit their website at www.bwar.org. Help to realize Brother Wolf's vision when no animal is euthanized for lack of a home.
Who's a good boy?
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they are available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
No, you can still be a patriot without listening to Computer America. Well, kind of anyway. I'm Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, the TripLite 10-port USB charger. This is what we're talking about. TripLite has a 10-port USB desktop charger the size of a suspense novel with no wall wart, just a detachable power plug. It has enough power to feed 2.1 amps full time to all 10 ports, all at the same time. Or if some need less, up to 2.4 amps to a good many at once. It has a blue pilot light up front, a power switch, and an impressively quiet cooling fan port out back. Bottom line, when it comes to feeding enough power to enough ports all the time, this powerful 10-port charger from TripLite gets it right. Marty Winston, News Tips Bulletin for Computer America.
Hello, and welcome back into the Computer America Show. And and it's 33 minutes past the hour as we continue on here. And we're just going to wrap this up real quick. And we are still here with Mr. Dave Willis, and he is from Clarius Mobile Health, and he is the co-founder and chief strategy officer. And we just have like one or two more questions. Sorry about that. But I just kind of wanted to finish this up with, we've started mentioning a bunch of different use cases and, a lot of human patients, of course, but, huge animal lovers here at Computer America. Is this something that vets would be interested in as a scanner for their furry patients?
It is. In fact, one of the first scanners that we're introducing is a small animal veterinary transducer. There's the veterinary market in ultrasound is kind of split into two camps. The equine market, typically they can afford bigger, more expensive equipment,
Right.
because they're working on, expensive animals. But not every vet can afford ultrasound. And in the small animal world, these are just small vet clinics down the street. They understand how important ultrasound is, but it hasn't been very accessible to them. So quite often they'll outsource that piece of it. But this does give them an opportunity to get imaging in their department and really start looking at their own furry patients right in their department. So we do think that could be a real opportunity for us.
Yeah, no, great value added to to any vet that can say, oh, ultrasound of the dog, here you go, 2 seconds, there you go. Very, very convenient, definitely. But yeah, so Clarius, and again, everyone out there, clarius.me, and you can find a link to it on our website in the show notes for today's show. Yeah, so what is kind of next for Clarius? Because obviously, 2 years, you guys are growing massively. Are you guys looking for more products, or are you trying to figure out where you can put, this one product in as many hands as possible?
It's a combination of both. So we are certainly working to expand in the marketplace, looking at different partners. So there's a number of companies out there that don't sell ultrasound, but they sell tools that are used in procedures. And typically ultrasound is used to help guide those tools. These companies make the tools, but they haven't in the past had access to selling ultrasound with those tool sets. So there's a lot of interest from them to make this part of their bundle. So we're actively looking at a number of partners to expand the marketplace. And then on the engineering side, this is really the beginning of a long-term commitment to making affordable, high-quality handheld ultrasound. So we'll continue to add different types of products and continue to make it smaller, faster, better.
As you should. Just again, Computer America, from a technology standpoint, Moore's law is probably dead for most part, but technology year over year just gets better and better. And I'm sure, as the months go by, as the years go by, I'm glad that a company like you exists that is going to dispel small equals bad imaging, because I don't think that's the case anymore. And especially looking at some of, the material on your website, I think you really have this licked where it's, small does not mean cheap, or, and small does not mean poor quality. And
Correct.
and I'm so glad that you could come on the show and talk to us about it. It was very, very interesting. And if you come out with a version 2, or if you guys do something here in the near future with a partnership, please come back on the show and tell us about it. But in the meantime, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And I'm going to say good day to you. But everyone, once again, you can find them at clarius.me, and again in the show notes. So Dave, have a good day, and thanks again.
Thanks to you.
All right, bye-bye. All right, and there he goes. And yeah, once again, Clarius, they make a small portable ultrasound device. It's very, very efficient and works with iOS and Android. So if you're wondering if there's an app for ultrasound, there's an app for that. Of course, you need to have this device, and of course, this device is a medical device, so obviously not aimed at the consumer market, but at the same time, so compact and so convenient. I can see it being a bigger part of a lot more workplaces. So hey, next time that you're getting worked on, maybe, just maybe, you'll find a Clarius device, I don't know, somewhere on your person. A lot of fun. But with that being said, so that was the first part of the show, and we're going to kick it into the second part, where we are going to do computer and technology news. So without further delaying for time, here we go. And for today's computer and technology news by Computer America, we have a lot of very interesting stories. And I think we're going to lead off with this one because, China's just that big monster of everything opposite that we expect from our internet to be here, in places that aren't China. And yet they are still such a large, global superpower. It's just weird to compare and contrast, or it's very interesting to compare and contrast the two different ways that people, kind of interact with, or how they manage the internet in general. And so this, I'm pulling an article from phys.org, but China passes controversial cybersecurity law. And this isn't, very removed. And it probably has a lot to do with just recently, I want to say about 2 weeks ago, China gave everyone a score based on, well, kind of being human. They give you a score based on your political beliefs. They give you a score based on who your friends are. They give you a score based on what your friends' political beliefs are. They give you a score based on if you have any citations, tickets, if you don't pay your bills, if you do pay your bills on time. Essentially, like a credit score, but instead of just being about credit and your financial reliability, instead it's a score about how good you are as a person. And if that score reached too low, you could get things such as, worse rates on mortgages and loans, or where it would operate like a credit score. Or if it was too low, you could even be banned from leaving the country. Like they would confiscate or at least ban your passport, so you couldn't leave the country. All because, and again, the weird thing about it wasn't just do you pay your bills. It's who are you as a person was really what they were trying to quantify with that. So again, why that is important to this topic is because these cybersecurity laws really try to take away something that I think a lot of people here in other parts of the world kind of expect to be a given. And that's some semblance of being anonymous on the internet, where no one judges you, no one pays attention, no one really cares what you do, as long as you aren't hurting anyone or, kind of really, breaking some very serious laws. Whatever. It's the internet. You have the right to being anonymous. And there you go. But China on Monday, which is today, passed a controversial cybersecurity bill, which further tightening its restrictions on online freedom of speech, raising concerns that it could intensify already wide-ranging internet censorship. And when they say internet censorship, I mean, it's seriously censored over there. There's a reason there's the term the Great Firewall of China. It's censored. So the ruling Communist Party oversees a vast censorship system, which, again, the Great Firewall, that aggressively blocks sites or snuffs out internet content and commentary on topics considered sensitive, such as Beijing's human rights record and criticism of the government. Yeah, so I guess being outspoken against your government is something that should be squashed by the government. Again, very counterintuitive to a lot of our listeners, I'm sure. And the law, which was approved by the National People's Congress Standing Committee, bans internet users from publishing a wide variety of information, including anything that damages national honor, disturbs economic or social order, or is aimed at overthrowing the socialist system. And again, that is the best law you could pass, is anything that would go against what we say is illegal. Perfect. End of story. Period. That is the best law that you could ever pass. It's not the best law from like a human rights, kind of thing, or it's not, or even for like a continuing dialogue or discussion about where you want your country and your government to go, and an ever evolving one. But if you want the status quo to remain, then anything that is against what we say is illegal. End of story. Perfect. Wonderful. So the law also requires companies to verify a user's identity, effectively making it illegal to go online anonymously. So it also includes provisions for protecting the country's network and private user information. And early drafts of the legislation drew a wave of criticism from rights groups and businesses, was objected to its vague language. And foreign companies, in particular, expressed concern about language that would require them to cooperate with Chinese authorities, quote, to protect national security, broadly worded language that was included in the final version of the law. And yeah, we've run into this here in America too, where these vague, very overarching topics, I mean, it's wording is everything when you approach subjects like this. So yeah, so Chinese authorities have long reserved the right to control and censor online content, but the country stepped up its controls in 2013, launching a wide range of internet crackdowns that targeted activists and focused on the spread of so-called internet rumors. And yeah, so hundreds of Chinese bloggers, so everyday people and journalists, were detained as part of the campaign to assert control over social media, which has seen influential critics of Beijing paraded on state television. Just crazy to think that, hey, a blogger is now on television for breaking the law, for speaking their mind. Such a different place. Under regulations announced at the time, Chinese internet users faced 3 years in prison for writing defamatory messages that are reposted 500 times or more. That's also very interesting, where the virality, or how many times it's shared, affects the sentence. So if it's just one person speaking his mind and no one pays attention to him, then hey, probably nothing's going to come of it. But if it's a popular comment, or if it's popular by the people, 500 times, and the web users can also be jailed if offending posts are viewed more than 5,000 times. Yeah, so 3 years in prison for more than 500 times shared, or even longer if shared more than 5,000 times. So, and again, we're talking about a country with a population of 1.3 billion people. So when you talk about the numbers of like 500 and 5,000, it's not hard to get that kind of, to get those kinds of numbers. So yeah, I mean, it's just so foreign that you can't really say what's on your mind, or else you'll get prison. And so and they have a quote here saying that if online speech and privacy are a bellwether of Beijing's attitude toward peaceful criticism, everyone, including netizens in China and major international corporations, are now at risk. And that was from Sophie Richardson. Whew, there we go. China Director of Human Rights Watch, saying that this law's passage means there's no protections for users against serious charges. And again, and that's the worst part, is that it seems like a lot of companies out there that provide these services, they have to now verify who you are as a person. I don't know if that's a driver's license kind of thing that we have here in the US. I don't know if that's a social security number kind of thing. But before you can even use their service, you have to verify who you are. And if you use that service in a way that is against the law, according to these new regulations, you are now in trouble. And yes, they can find you. And sometimes you think, oh, modern world, these kinds of things don't happen. This isn't, the 1960s anymore. This isn't, the 1920s in Russia, communist kind of thing. And then you get little stories like this that are just so against the grain for how popular ideas are spread that, I don't know, really makes you appreciate and value just how important an open and safe internet is. An open and free internet and an open and anonymous internet is also very, very important, because otherwise, you hear these people who are talking about, hey, it's you hear all these people talking about, well, if they do this, then they're going to come for this, and they can do that. Yeah, I mean, we see it now in China. We see it in China where they can track anything you do, and you have real life consequences just for being curious or just for voicing an opinion. There are consequences. So yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen here. and that is just abhorrent. I don't really know where else to take that. But I do know where to take the show from here, and I think the next place we're going to go is indeed, for those of you who don't know, for those of you living under a rock, and stay under that rock for as long as you can until tomorrow, because you know what? It is time to go vote. We are Computer America, and the voting process very important. And it's seemed and like I'm a child of technology, millennial, what have you, but I am usually so for um I'm usually so for being able to do things online. Like I pay all my bills online. That's just how it works. And we have this story here about how the internet can help you vote, which is of course going to be very important because again, it's tomorrow. Be sure, if you didn't vote early, be sure to go do it. And I'm not going to tell you how to vote. I'm just going to say go vote. As long as you do it, then you're golden. Participate in the democratic process, and you will not be disappointed because hey, you tried. But this is an article from Engadget, and it's saying how the internet can help you vote tomorrow, and it can figure out where, when, how, and why you should vote this week. So tomorrow is of course election day, as we just mentioned. More than a year of political maneuvering, partisan fundraising, polarizing debates, 24-hour election coverage, blah 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 blah. And it's about to come to a close tomorrow, finally. Although tomorrow, U.S. citizens and the Electoral College will choose a new president to lead the country for 4 years, as we know. And if you're an eligible voter, you may want to be part of this historic decision, as you should, when and where and how to vote. And it looks like this article is pointing you towards the Voting Information Project, which is Pew Charitable Trust, and by Google. And I noticed this when I booted up my computer. Google actually gave me a little pop-up, and it's like, hey, here's where to vote, or click here to vote, click here to find out how to vote, where to vote, when to vote, click here for all the information you need to know to vote. And I thought that was very cool by Google, that they could just pop in a registered voting address of where you are, where you live, and where you are registered to vote, and you will be able to get everything you need to know: time to be, where to be, what documents to bring to go vote. Very, very cool. Or, and there are a couple other ways. They're saying that you can text vote to VOTO, or vote or VOTO to go vote, which is a number, to receive polling place details. So of course, you can do it by text. And they even have a get the polls, and actually, and Google, Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, Amazon, AT&T, all those others are going to are also supporting get to the polls and making sure that people really know how to get there. And it looks like they have a tie-in with Google Maps. So if you're unsure if this is your first time voting, or I know this has happened to a lot of people, your voting place changes. Don't expect it to be the same place every single time. You can find them on Google Maps. The Washington Post also has a voting tool, which shows example outlines 14 states with new voting restrictions and confirms whether you'll need a photo ID, proof of citizenship, or other identification when you hit the polls. So again, very, very good information. And then Google really seems to be the best place to get information on how to vote. Yeah, just go to Google. Where do I vote? How do I vote? What's my ballot? And it, Google, working all their Google magic, should be able to help you. Now, yeah, and there's a couple other parts here that are kind of talking about who to vote for and how to vote. I really don't care about that. But suffice to say, if you are unsure of how to vote, where to vote, or when to vote, go check out Google. They seem to be the best place. And yeah, a quick Google search of your question should be enough to get you pointed in the right direction. Yeah, so go do it. Go do it. It's very, very important. Now, let us move over to how about we do this one? And Tesla, they've been getting a lot of good publicity lately. They just came out with their solar roof. We talked about it with Mike Cermak. It was they didn't show any kind of price or pricing scale. And, that's obviously very important, but they, had some very vague things. How about some not so good news from Tesla? And, I think they could use some criticism. So Tesla asked new car buyers to pay for supercharger access. So, of course, buy any Tesla electronic vehicle after January 1st, 2017, and your top ups will eventually carry a fee. And this is from Engadget, Mr. John Fingus, saying it's not your average Model 3 owner who will pay to use superchargers. Tesla has announced that anyone ordering one of its cars after January 1st will no longer get unlimited free supercharging top ups, even if you buy the top tier cars. You'll get 400 kilowatt hours of free credit each year, but every charge after that will carry, which by the way is enough to recharge a P100D 4 times. So, their largest car 4 times. You essentially get four free tanks of electricity. Yeah. But every charge after that will carry an incremental small fee, saying that the company is quick to note that the superchargers will never be a profit center, and that whatever you pay will be less than what it takes to fill a similar gas-powered car. And you'll get more details when the program changed later in 2016. However, you don't have to panic if you just pulled the trigger on your dream machine. Any existing orders will still qualify for completely free charging so long as you take delivery before April 1st. So sounds like the window's very, very quickly closing. And of course, this isn't great news if you can't justify buying higher end Tesla until 2017, but it's not surprising given that the company's finances and ambitions. It just turned its first profit in 2 years, and staying in the black would be that much harder if the firm couldn't recoup the cost of running supercharging stations. Also, the Model 3 runaway demand is bound to put pressure on superchargers, saying that those fees are needed to reinvest in the network and accelerate its growth. And it won't be fun to pay for all that cross-country trek, but it might be crucial to making sure there's enough superchargers to get you to your destination on time. And, it was a great dream, and I'm glad it happened for as long as it did. But hey, there's something to be said for no electricity is free. There's always a cost associated with it, be it Tesla pays it, or the city pays for it, or you pay for it. There's always that cost. And I really can't fault Tesla at this point. As much as I would like to, it sounds like they're still giving free lifetime charges to anyone who purchased before a certain cutoff date. But, like they said, the runaway demand, there's, thousands upon thousands of Model 3s that are supposed to be built and shipped. When those go out, it's going to be even more important to make sure that they're, that isn't the death of Tesla, is that, they promise free electricity. Okay, now, all right, so how about this one? For anyone out there who is a fan of space, we have a couple minutes here, and I really want to get this one in because this is one I've been following for quite a while, and it's super, super cool. Glad it's finally done. And NASA has completed the $8.7 billion James Webb Space Telescope, saying that its Hubble successor is ready for testing ahead of the October 2018 launch. Yes, it's finally done. So, the Hubble Space Telescope has given humanity unprecedented glimpses into the universe, as we all know. And they just finished the James Webb Space Telescope, which will be able to see the universe as it was 13 billion years ago. It is equipped with a 21-foot gold-coated mirror array that can collect 7 times more light than the Hubble and scan the infrared spectrum to see through dust. We've done 2 decades of innovation and hard work, and this is the result. And by the way, definitely go take a look at the pictures of this thing. It is absolutely crazy looking. And, when you stand it side by side to the Hubble, I cannot wait for the images we're going to get from this thing. It's
90 seconds.
It's going to put the Hubble to shame, and the Hubble is already, one of the most amazing pieces of technology we have out there. So, yeah, looking forward to it indeed. Now, with that being said, we are done with the show for today. Thank you everyone out there for listening. It has been a lot of fun. And let me just pull up the calendar to see who we have tomorrow. Tomorrow, we have Mr. Josh Boykin. He is with
60
intelligame.us
seconds.
or intelligame.us, and he does our Computer America Gamer Tuesday segment, where we talk all things video games. This is going to be a particularly important one because we are really going to talk about which games are going to be the best for the holiday season, what you want to look out for, any kind of deals. I'm sure Black Friday is going to play a part in this. Just everything you need to know about video games for the holiday season. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tune in tomorrow to hear all about video games here on Computer America. And with that being said, again, hopefully everyone out there had a great weekend. Monday is over. You did it, folks. Good job. Proud of you. And yeah, we'll see you here, same time, same place, tomorrow, 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern. With that being
10
said,
seconds.
everyone, have a great day. See you here tomorrow. Bye, everyone. And everyone out there listening on the video portion, thank you so much for tuning in. And yeah, hopefully all of you had a great time and really like putting that on for you. In fact, you know what? I think we'll do it again tomorrow. Just one more for the road. And then maybe one more after that. Okay. But yeah, 4 o'clock, 4 p.m. Eastern. Join us. It's going to be a lot of fun with Josh Boykin on Computer America. Bye, everyone.